this could get me into a lot of trouble.
The Toyota GR Yaris has won the hearts of the automotive world over the last few years, but what if I told you there was a German car that did a similar thing 10 years ago? Follow me, I'll show you what I mean. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Audi S1, a small car that packs a big punch. Let me walk you through just what makes this car so awesome. Let's kick off with what's under the bonnet. Although this is Audi's smallest S car ever made, that didn't stop the German boffins from squeezing in the iconic 2-litre E8888 engine. In the case of the S1, it produces 231 horsepower along with 370 Newton meters of torque. Now, for a car of this size, I think it's really important to have some context here. This offers the same, or about the same power as the Golf GTI Performance Pack from the same era, and this has just 10 Newton meters less torque compared to its bigger brother, the Audi S3. So this car is punching above its weight. Like the S3 I mentioned a few moments ago, this has Audi's Quattro all-wheel drive system, and because this car is so tightly packaged, it does mean that there wasn't enough space for the S Tronic transmission, so this car is manual only. That makes Aaron happy.
Oh, meaty. Now, it's worth noting this car isn't standard. Originally, this was going to be a throwback review video, the series in which I test cars from years gone by, but because this car isn't standard, I thought that I couldn't really do that. Now, remember I said the power of this car was 231 horsepower with 317 Newton meters of torque. Yeah, I was kind of lying, because this car has had a stage 1 map from Devil Developments. Therefore, it's now pushing out 327 horsepower, which for context is almost the same as my Mark II Seat Leon Cupra, and it has, get this, 540 Newton meters of torque. Yeah, that's a lot of punching power. The standard car would do 0 to 62 in 5.8 seconds, or 5.9 if you went for the Sportback, and of course the top speed was limited to 155 miles per hour. Anyway, enough waffling, let's do some driving. Now, it's worth noting this car's got a Sachs organic clutch, so yeah, it definitely feels normal. Definitely feels different to a normal clutch. Quite a heavy unit, but it's got a nice pleasing weight to it. This car is also on lowering springs. It's got a dog bone mount. It's got an uprated air filter. The resonators from the exhaust have been deleted. So yes, this has been tastefully modified. The owner may be going up to even more power, believe it or not. Oh my word! Whoa! Now, of course, with the Quattro all-wheel drive system, it's able to put this massive amount of power down. You've got a selection of drive modes, as you would get from any sporty Audi. So what have we got in this one, because it can vary. So you've got auto, dynamic, or efficiency. Dynamic, please. And it's so nice having the manual gearbox. Okay, Audi purists will say that an S Tronic would be better, and it would be faster, don't get me wrong, but having a manual gearbox with this amount of power, and in my opinion, so you probably can't see me now because it's quite dark, in my opinion, a true hot hatch should have a manual gearbox, because it's all about engagement, involvement, and just having the ability just to rev match. Oh, get in your lane, my friend. You don't need your lane and my lane. yeah, it's it's nice to have the ability just to rev match and Now, by the power output numbers, I knew this car would be quick, but this is ballistic. Okay, it's not the lightest car because of the all-wheel drive system, but still, this is a true pocket rocket. Even though this is on lowering springs, the ride, for the most part, isn't too bad. It is firm, of course, and I certainly wouldn't like to hit a pothole in this car because A, it isn't my car, and B, the short wheelbase and the lowering springs would probably mean that my teeth would fall out. But that's the sacrifice you've got to make for performance. Lovely rev match. Brake pedal feels really nice and firm. All you got to do is just poke the accelerator and this thing is ready to go. This may be turbocharged, but it's still really alert. Wow. And it sounds angry. I'm a big car, I promise. It's almost as if this car is furious that it didn't become an S3 in its life and it's trying to prove a point. I'm a big, powerful car, I promise you. Now, a few nerdy things to go through with you. The S1 is built on the same chassis as the Volkswagen Polo, or Volkswagen to be pedantic. But unlike the Polo, which had a torsion rear beam, Audi did away with that. That went into the bin, and in its place you have a more sophisticated multi-link setup. That means better handling, of course. So let's talk about the gear change. I found from experience of owning a Volkswagen Automotive Group product that the standard gear change isn't always the best. This gear change is pretty good. It is a bit on the long side. I think this car definitely would benefit from a short shifter. This is going to be the awkward moment where Nathan, the owner, tells me it has got a short shifter. Well, not right now, he's not in the car, he's gone for lunch, so he's been crazy enough, I mean brave enough, to throw the key at me and yeah, let me have a little play with his S1. He's contemplating whether or not to trade it in and get an RS3 or to go stage 3 power with this car, which I think he said would push it beyond 400 horsepower. I mean, that would be crazy, absolutely crazy. Yeah, the gear change is a bit long, as I mentioned, but it's still nice enough to rev match. And with me being somewhat of a purist, I like having the manual gearbox. As I said earlier, yes, there will be some in the S Tronic camp that will be disappointed that this car wasn't offered with the DSG setup, but I'm not fussed. One modification I forgot to mention, and I was reminded by it a few moments ago because I could hear a little bit of squeaking from the front end. This has got poly brushes in the front suspension arms. Oh, those brakes are good. Oh, this is dangerous. I want one of these. I want an S1. It's a good thing I can't afford one, otherwise I'd be offering to buy this from Nathan. One thing that impresses me about the S1 is although it's a small car, you still get big Audi tech. I've got the MMI, granted the screen is quite small, but don't forget, this is quite an old car. This is almost 10 years old. That sounds crazy to say. I've got heated seats, I've got climate control. I've got the Audi multimedia setup. Don't think this has the Bose sound system though, which I must confess I do find surprising. I thought it was standard on the S1s, but I would assume it was probably an optional extra. Also, can we just say the colour of this particular example, it is beautiful. It's the Sepang blue. I do hope I've got that pronounced correctly, but I'm sure someone on the internet will be all too quick to correct me. But yeah, this colour is gorgeous. A really, really nice colour. If I were to buy an S1, this would definitely be the colour I'd spec it in. Pop from the exhaust. I haven't talked to speedo very closely because, yeah, this thing picks up speed like you wouldn't quite believe for a car of this stature. It is really impressive. As much as I love the idea of an Audi RS3, I do feel that Nathan is a little bit bonkers for wanting to get rid of this. Don't get me wrong, it would be to get a superior car, don't get me wrong, but this, it's bags of fun. This could get me into a lot of trouble. Right. Make sure I can get past this cyclist. One thing I find impressive, and I'm yet to experience it, is torque steer, or should I say lack of torque steer. You would think that this amount of power, granted you do have the Quattro all-wheel drive setup, but you'd think that this amount of power would be causing the steering wheel to want to wrestle its way out of my hands, but it isn't. It's really surprising. I did think this was going to be a bit of a torque steer monster, but so far I'm yet to really experience it. So what we do is we will hang back a little bit. Let's go for a second gear pull. Right. Okay, a little bit of torque steer, just pulling me ever so slightly to the left, but there could be more to do with the camber off the road than actual torque steer. So yeah, the way in which this car, the way in which it controls its power is commendable. So Nathan, the owner, he did say that this is a custom map. This isn't just a flash plug and play and away you go, though this time would have been spent on this map, and it certainly shows. Because the way how it delivers its power is brutal, yet with quite a lot of control. It's impressive. Oh, this car is a little rascal. If I owned this car, that would be what I would call this car, the little rascal. This could get me into a lot of trouble. Yes, as I was saying, the power delivery is impressive. But the way in which it goes around corners is also pretty impressive. One thing to note about the Quattro all-wheel drive system is that in normal driving conditions, 60% of the power is fed to the front axle, whereas 40% is of course fed to the rear. In more dynamic situations, it is actually a 50-50 split, much like one of the settings in the GR Yaris. There we are, another GR Yaris comparison. Now, I touched upon the GR Yaris in the intro. Yes, I'm not saying these are out-and-out rivals, but they do have a similar blueprint, don't they? Powerful engine, four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, manual gearbox, hot hatch, yes.
And just like the Toyota GR Yaris, the Audi S1 is small, which has somewhat obvious consequences. Of course, one of the disadvantages of a car of this size, and particularly with all-wheel drive, is boot space. Compared to the A1, the S1 has a reduction of about 30%. If you go for the 3-door version, as you see here, you get 210 litres with the rear seats folded up and 860 with them folded down. You can go for the 5-door Sportback because that gives you 270 litres with the rear seats up and 920 litres with them folded down. So for an airport run, yeah, you're not going to get many suitcases in here, but for a fun weekend away, I'm sure this will do the trick. You can fill your boots. Oh, fill your boot. You know what I mean. Wordplay on that.
Predictably, space in the back is also tight, particularly if you're blessed with height like myself. I'm 6'2". For context, the driver's seat has been set for the owner's height. He's fairly tall, but not quite as tall as me. So with that in mind, I think even if you're an average sized adult, I think you'll find the back of the S1 a little bit too cramped and you'll want to shotgun the front passenger seat. So really and truly, the back of the S1 is more for smaller adults or children, or maybe just an extension of the boot. Just throw extra bags here if you don't need to carry the passengers, of course. With the dark roof lining and the tinted windows, it does make the back feel somewhat claustrophobic. So yeah, if you're not good in tight spaces, avoid the back of the S1 because you may trip out. Anyway, time for me to get out because it's rather warm in here. If the seat doesn't try and kill me in the process. Stay, heel. To be fair, getting in and out isn't actually that difficult for a 3-door. This thing, it just digs its heels in and then just shoots itself down the road. It's got traction for days, absolute days. That is what hot hatches should all be about. If a hot hatch is painting a massive grin on your face from ear to ear, you know it's doing its job right. And this is certainly doing a job. Oh, this is awesome. Absolutely awesome. The question is, would I personally have more fun in this or an Audi RS3? It's difficult, and this may spark a bit of controversy, but you know what? I honestly think I'd have more fun in this compared to the RS3. And with that somewhat, perhaps, controversial view, I think I'll end it there before I end up turning the fuel tank into vapours. I get that clutch biting point right. And here we are, coming next to Leo, my Land Cruiser. Hello Leo, you're really dirty, you need a good clean. You've been neglected in that department. Well, a massive thank you, where's reversing this? There we go. A massive thank you to Nathan for letting me have a little play in his S1. It's been a very, very good fun. There we go, nose to nose with Leo, yeah. Yeah, big thank you to Nathan for letting me have a play with his S1. And of course, a big thank you, also got start-stop, I wasn't expecting that. A big thank you to you guys watching at home or wherever you may be. If you have enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. If you are subscribed, don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notified every time I make a video. But until the next time guys, be sure to keep up the car obsession. I really am starting to lose my voice. It's the effect the S1's had on me.